The Bahamas Nurses Union carries their concerns to the office of the Prime Minister. An alleged killer has his day in court, and a local political party expresses concerns with the vaccine rollout. Good evening, everyone. I'm Leah Cooper with your JCN News for this Thursday, February 4th. Well, dozens of peeved nurses gathered in protest in the front of the office of the Prime Minister this morning after protesting in front of the Ministry of Health and Rawson Square earlier this week for overtime payment dating back to Hurricane Dorian. Laurencia Smith has the details.
For the third day in a row with picket signs in hand reading, "My Prime Minister doesn't have a heart and we ain't no conks," the Bahamas Nurses Union President Amantia Williams, along with scores of frustrated nurses, took over the parking lot of the office of the Prime Minister on Thursday, with President Williams attempting to sign the register to get a meeting with Dr. Hubert Minutes, but instead asked to leave by officers. The purpose of wanting that meeting, according to Mrs. Williams, to discuss the nurses' long overdue overtime payment accumulated during Hurricane Dorian and the COVID-19 pandemic. Here's General Secretary for the union, Shaniqua Cox.
Here today to request an official meeting with the Prime Minister. We met with him officially back in July of last year. We have been reaching out non-stop to get a follow-up meeting to our concerns, for him to address or bring about resolutions to our concerns, and to date, not a word from him.
Now, when JCN reporters arrived at OBM, the nurses were being asked to leave the premises just after officers erected barricades at the entrance of the parking lot. The nurses then moved their demonstration to the front lawn of the office, creating a new sign which read, "Kicked out of OPM by RBPF." Last evening in Parliament, Minister of Health Renford Wells said that nurses who worked under the Public Health Authority, PHA, have been paid their overtime for their work during the pandemic. Nurse Williams did have an issue with the minister's comments.
One group, all of them, Mr. Speaker, are entitled to overtime for work from Dorian through COVID. There's only one group, Mr. Speaker. The doctors are waiting. The support staff is waiting. There's only one group that was paid, Mr. Speaker, from March to September overtime.
The minister is playing with words to sympathize the public, like he did some payments. If anyone knows that PMH is different from DPH, these are the Department of Public Health Nurses. It's totally different. So what the minister is saying, we're not saying that PMH nurses didn't get paid. PMH nurses they work in a hospital. They're under an authority. The authority has their bank, and you know what happens with the authority. But we're saying that these nurses come underneath your umbrella. You understand? You in the public service, Ministry of Health.
Valencia Davis, a registered nurse for more than 2 decades, currently assigned to school health services, says it's a gloomy time for nursing in the country.
Disrespect that the nurses in this country have served when 2020 was supposed to be internationally the year of the nurse and the midwife is unexcusable. This government should be very ashamed of themselves. Dr. Minnis, who is a doctor who has worked alongside of us, who we have voted for to put him in Parliament, he should be just ashamed of himself. I am sad to be a nurse in the country of the Bahamas at this time.
After a brief meeting with Dr. Minnis in his office, President Williams shared that he agreed to meet with her executive team at the Cabinet office. Asked what she hopes the outcome will be, Mrs. Williams simply says that nurses will be paid. I'm Laurencia Smith for JCN News.
What was referred to as non-contention bills by Attorney General Senator Carl Bethel and Senator Raynard Henfield, senators this morning passed a compendium of aviation bills, including the Civil Aviation Bill 2021, the Civil Aviation Authority Bahamas Bill, and the Bahamas Air Navigation Services Authority Bill. Members of Parliament debated and passed the bills last night. Leading off debate in the upper chamber, Senator Bethel says aviation has a vital sector of the domestic economy.
It is vital that we have airports that are internationally recognized as being safe and compliant for both the tourism industry in New Providence, Grand Bahama, but also for the tourism industry throughout our far-flung, beautiful islands, keys, rocks, keys, and settlements. And so it is critically important that we do this, and in doing this, it will inure directly to the benefit of every Bahamian to have a robust and vibrant and modern civil aviation regulatory framework, and to have airports that are not condemned, etc.
The AG added that there are many things going on in the civil aviation front, including a very aggressive action plan for redevelopment of 4 family island airports. The AG also notes that one of the significant effects of the civil aviation bill will be that the government is now putting in place the ability to set up an aircraft registry. He also notes that the legislation paves the way for the necessary infrastructure to be implemented to monetize the Bahamas airspace, and that's through the establishment of an air navigation authority.
In fact, this is going to be the entity that will receive overflight fees in short order. And there are other proposals for other ways to monetize this entity that are being considered. But the idea would be that this entity would be the receptor of all aeronautical services that are provided to planes flying over or through Bahamian airspace. Okay, once you overfly the Bahamas, there will be certain things that will be available at a cost, and there will be the overflight fees which go straight to the government through the Bahamas Air Navigation Services Authority bill.
Senator Raynard Henfield seconded the bill and says debate on the bills ought to be non-contentious, as Bahamians do not care who's in power when issues arise, but only concerned about having the issues addressed and resolved. However, he says, while there is no shortage of laws, but we do fall down when it comes to implementation and enforcement of laws. Meanwhile, opposition Senator Dr. Michael Darville, during his brief contribution, says he had only one concern, that of the variety of amendments to the bills. However, he too says the bills are non-contentious.
That under the former administration, we work very diligently against many odds to ensure that that asset and the revenue that could potentially be derived from that asset was manifested. Subsequently, we passed the baton on to this administration, and the Minister of Tourism and Aviation, like any other minister who sit in that position, will have to work diligently to comply with the Chicago Convention as well as ICAO standards to ensure that our tourism sector is protected, and aircrafts that operate in our airspace are not only regulated effectively, but also safety.
The Civil Aviation Authority's Bahamas Act 2021 now replaces the 2016 Act, which modernizes the country's aviation sector to bring it in line with international aviation standards. Given the country's current economic position, Inglerston MP Gladys Hannah Martin is calling for MPs to take pay cuts. She made the comments in the House of Assembly yesterday as she claimed that police reserves have yet to be paid.
But the reservists have not been paid. I'm told that since then one has died. Yet there's another one who's in the hospital. Please pay the reservists. They came out of their homes. They manned the shelters. Pay them, pay the people. You know, I have raised before, we should be taking a cut on our salaries in this house. We should be taking a cut, but we don't want to do it. We don't want to sacrifice, but we're telling people you got to wait a year, 2 years for your money. Something is wrong with that picture. You cannot send a signal that you are entitled to better standards or accommodations than your average Bahamians.
Hannah Martin spoke during debate of the Civil Aviation Authority Bahamas Bill, the Civil Aviation Bill, the Bahamas Air Navigation Services Authority Bill. Minister of National Security Marvin Dame spoke up on a point of order, saying that the police reserves have already received their pay.
I have said it over and over. A cabinet paper was presented to cabinet, not too long ago, at the end of last year, in respect to the overtime payments for police reservists. That was approved by Cabinet and sent back to the Royal Bahamas Police Force. I would have spoken to the Commissioner of Police recently on several occasions just to follow up. And as far as I am aware, and based on my conversation with the Commissioner, there is nothing outstanding owing to the reserves in respect to overtime.
The overtime pay in question is for the police reserves who worked during Hurricane Dorian in 2019. In news from the courts, a man accused of murder faced Magistrate Samuel McKinney this afternoon. 27-year-old Cleso Roll of Smith's Way was charged with 1 count of murder. The particulars are that on January 3rd, while in New Providence, he, by means of unlawful harm, did intentionally cause the death of DeAndre Thompson. According to police, the incident occurred on the intersection of Willow Street and Sapodilla Boulevard. The officers responded, and upon their arrival, they discovered the body of a man lying in a van with apparent gunshot wounds. Roll was denied bail and remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections until April 1st at 10 a.m. for service of a voluntary bill of indictment. He was represented by attorney Ian Cargill. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.